Welcome to Tennessee Tuesdays. I'm your producer for the evening, Moose, and let me go ahead and introduce our host for the evening, Tennessee Division Commander John Blankenship.
And hey, Harrison, how are you?
Good, good, good. And of course, the esteemed, the mighty past Commander-in-Chief Jason Boshers.
How's everybody doing out there?
And before we get started, please remember the views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the SCV, it's GEC, nor divisions, brigade camps, or any other subsidiaries, especially the Tennessee Division. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. This is the new television show on the airwaves. This is Tennessee Tuesdays, but I'm not going to be talking about that tonight. Our esteemed host will be talking about that. So without any further ado, gentlemen, take it away.
All right, Moose, we appreciate you tonight. Appreciate you allowing us to be a part of the SCV Chat Network and the great work you guys do. And it's an honor to be here. And we'll be talking a little Tennessee, a little history, a little Confederate history. And first show, we hope to go off just perfect so far. Everything is good, guys. And we're glad to be able to do this with you and look forward to a long relationship. And, of course, my co-host and partner here in crime tonight, Jason Boshers. We've talked about, guys, would we call him T-Rex? I don't know. Does that name stick?
I think it does.
Again, we've got a great program lined up for you tonight. We're going to talk a little bit of business coming up here in just a little while about what's happening in the Tennessee Division. We'll also talk about some SCV national news, a little bit about Confederate history too, and we'll get into some discussion back and forth. And again, Harrison, thank you so much for allowing us to do this.
Hey, we're happy that y'all are joining the network, so to speak. I mean, I can't wait to see what Tennessee does with this show. I can't wait to see what y'all do with this show. And a once wise man, many, many moons ago, probably 5 years ago, he gave us the shot to make this show. Yeah. He goes by the name of Jason Boshers. So I can't wait to see what y'all two do now. So, hey, the honor's all ours.
Well, we're looking forward to it tonight and the future shows ahead. Of course, we'll talk here in just a moment, a little bit of background about me. Some folks may not know me as well. Of course, they know Jason, they know you, but we'll give our background a little bit, how we got involved in the organization and also in history in general. And I've got a little bit of division news coming up for you in just a little bit too. And we've got some big projects in the division we're working on, and we need your help, our listeners and viewers tonight. And we'll talk about that coming up here in just a few minutes. But let's just kind of jump in and we'll talk about a little bit about what the goals are of this program and kind of what we want to accomplish. Of course, SCV Chat now, as you mentioned, Harrison, has been here 5 years and growing strong. And we want to come in and supplement here and just be able to help continue that same narrative, to take back that narrative from the leftist to the non-conservative people. We want to tell truth and history. And that's what we do in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I've said once that we may be the last generation to honor the Confederate soldier. And sometimes you look around, that seems true, but we have to do our job, like reaching out to the younger folks and through this medium, such as streaming with the different platforms and social media, to continue to get our cause known, because we don't want it to remain a lost cause that no one knows about. And that's the purpose of this show, is to have a good time, have good discussion and conversation. And also we hope you learn something, and as well, hopefully we learn something along the way. So let's kind of jump in. Jason, I'm going to let you start out here a little bit, and then I'll kind of wrap up with what I do and kind of how I got involved in the organization. But Jason is our past commander-in-chief. He served there for a term. He's been lieutenant commander-in-chief, and all the way down through the roles lower in that, from top to the bottom, Jason has done it all. But Jason, tell me a little bit about tonight, kind of how you got involved in the organization, and maybe a little bit about what sparked your interest in history.
Well, it would have started years ago. I got to first start and thank my mother, because my mother was one of these people that she loved going into cemeteries. And the whole time that we were brought up, it wasn't anything for on Sunday after church. We were going to visit dead relatives. We'd go see live relatives. And then generally it'd be 2 or 3 car loads, and we'd start going to the various family cemeteries. And, so it started with that. Then I had 2 aunts that were huge into this. And a lot of you have heard me tell about the story of Patrick Cleburne and the arguments that they would get into over that. And so I've always been interested, and I knew my Confederate history early, so much so that, and I graduated high school here in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee in 1982.
Oh, man. So let me jump in there, Jason. So 1982, that was the year I was born, right?
What do you say there, youngster?
I just want to point out my dad was 6 that year.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've had
a senior tonight.
So I have had one vehicle. I bought it when I was 15. I've had that one vehicle, still got it longer than you've been alive.
Oh, man.
So
Jason, you kind of moved from just the spark of history itself, from family growing up hearing stories, and then you kind of got involved in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Kind of give me the brief how you got in there.
Oh, yes, be happy to. First of all, started like most everything else, reenacting. And I was introduced to reenacting before I was ever introduced to the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And I had a guy that asked me, and him and I metal detected together. Oh, wow. And we reenacted together. And he goes, "Why don't you come to the camp meeting with me? You have an ancestor." I go, "Yeah, I know my ancestor. I'm named after him." And and he goes, "Come to the camp meeting." I don't know. He goes, "I'm coming by and getting you." And that was how it started. He come by and he got me. And went to the meeting, and I was signing the paperwork that night and paying my money and joining that night. And, it's been that way ever since. But that's what it takes. It takes somebody coming in, sometimes just getting you and making you do it. And that's what he did. He said, "No, we're going to the camp meeting." But it started through reenacting and metal detecting. And I drove past Elm Springs multiple times and knew at that time it had the sign out front off Morrisville Pike that said it was the international headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. It wasn't general headquarters. It was international headquarters. Yeah. Drove past it numerous times. And it was one of these days, and that tells you that one of those days needs to be today or tomorrow. That you don't need to keep putting it off. I could have joined 20 years before I did, and I just didn't. And wish now that I had.
And that's kind of my story is real similar, getting into the Sons of Confederate Veterans. The late Billy Foster, who was a brigade commander here in West Tennessee for many years. Even before him, our Lake County historian, Mr. Fred Culp in Gibson County in West Tennessee, he had been a member since probably mid-'80s, something like that. But I grew up around him, got the love of history through him and through my grandparents. But he always talked about the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I knew he was a member. I knew of the organization, but again, I was still a young guy. I loved history, but wasn't really ready to grasp in and join a group. But I guess back in the 2011 or so, joined up as a member. Mr. Billy Foster invited me to something I carry on today at our county fair here in Gibson County, a recruitment booth. And we'll talk about recruiting here in a little while because that's important. Same thing, it worked for me. He begged me, hey, come over here. It's time for you to join. It's time for you to do this. And that's kind of how I got in there. Somebody just, I guess they pressured you a little bit till you joined.
Yes. And sometimes it takes doing that. And it's not that you don't want to, but if you're working and you're married and you're starting a family and you're getting a house and you're doing all of these things, you just kind of have a tendency not to. And I wish that I'd joined 20 years before I did. And I knew about the organization. I drove past the building numerous times. All I had to do was drive up the front gate, and I just didn't.
And what an honor it is, Jason, too, to be able to serve in this organization, which growing up and hearing the stories of it, knew it existed, and then being a historian and a history buff like I am, just the history of this organization in itself and being able to be in some of these roles all three of us have served in is an honor in itself because you're going before the people that knew the Confederate veterans. Those sons knew their fathers, knew their grandfathers that served in the war. So we get those same stories that have come down through generations. That's kind of how my love of history got. I had a grandmother who collected all of her aunt stuff. She got all that back in the 50s, just trunk loads full of family memorabilia. And I grew up hearing about the Confederate ancestors. Did maybe not when I was young, didn't ask a lot of questions about them specifically, but we got those stories, and now at least 40 ancestors I have that served in the Confederate Army, and that's just here in West Tennessee. So it's important that we teach our youth today, something that Harrison's done, and it's admirable to look at as a younger guy, getting in here and what he's doing with this work with SCV Chat. It's something I've always thought is very important. We need to use these mediums that are available. Some folks are scared of them, that we shouldn't use them, but if you use them properly, they will benefit the organization and our cause.
Oh, yes. And we just had a good example of that at our last camp meeting. I got on there and I promoted it real heavy because I've got Derek Glover. He was coming and he was going to be speaking on antebellum money. That was a program I had never heard about. And then next month, now it's this month, we have Michael C. Hardy coming. And so I've started a big promotion on that. And because you promoted it and we've talked about it, instead of just telling the usual people, got it all over Facebook, went and invited camps, other brigades. We doubled people that came to the camp meeting. And sometimes that's all we have to do is just promote ourselves. And there's a lot of people that don't want to. Because they said, well, we don't want to draw attention. We could have ne'er-do-wells who want to come to the camp meeting. And, there has been a fair share of that over time. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen, but that hasn't happened in quite some time.
And Jason, too, to each their own. We all have our reasons for joining, and that's something we should talk about. As we know that disclaimer that Harrison has given us, of course, our views tonight, or our opinions we're giving, because each person has their reason for joining. Some want a certificate to say they're a member of this organization. That's how they support it. Some want, as you said, Jason, want to reenact. Some want to just write books and write articles. Some just want to attend events. Some want to hear speakers. Everybody has their reason for joining, but most of all, we hope it's for one reason, is to honor the Confederate soldier. If you know me for any time, you know I say this probably every meeting I'm at. Gentlemen, we must remember one thing. It's about honoring the Confederate soldier. It's not about me and you, but it's about his reason for fighting, and the same reasons we believe in today that are instilled in our blood. You read these stories. I love the local stories of the veterans. That's so important to me. You hear the generals all the time, but I'm a local guy. I like the local privates. I like to hear the local guys that I know here well. And their reason for fighting was defending their homes and their family in West Tennessee. Right north of us, there's an army building up. What are you going to do? You're going to make a decision. You're going to defend your home. You're going to defend your family. And there's plenty of evidence that here in West Tennessee and, of course, all over the South.
Yes. Yeah. And everybody does have their own particular reasons for why they join. Now, I'm going to voice my opinion. And my opinion is, in my experience in this, the people who get a certificate, who want to just say that, hey, I have a certificate, I want to be a member, you're lucky if you get the second and third year out of them. Let's be honest. But we know the people that are really active, the people that come to the camp meetings, the people that are at events, they do it because they get kind of emotional about this. Okay. I mean, like you were talking about the average Confederate soldier, the private in the ranks, the fella who's standing shoulder to shoulder, and, you know, the people at the Bloody Angle at Spotsylvania, the people, you know, Dalton, Peachtree Creek, how you name it, all these battles. When we start thinking about it and talking about it, we start getting emotional. That's true. And that's the people that are always there. They're the ones that's always going to be there. And, you know that, somebody comes to the camp meeting and, I'm just going through dues for my camp because I'm also the camp adjutant. I'm the Tennessee Division adjutant, but I'm a camp adjutant. So I'm doing my camp dues. And we have some members that they're not going to rerun. They're not going to re-up. Yeah. And even talking to them, because I send reminders, and then one of them, he just replied back. He says, I'm not going to join. And I asked why, and there hasn't been a response. But that's just one of those that, and members are that way. Some, he didn't get emotional about it, or he might, but not like the rest of us to where, and I've said this before, and I think I've actually said it on this SCV chat show. There might come a time that you have to throw me out of this organization because I've done something and you need to throw me out of the organization, but I'm not going to quit, and there's people that quit, and I don't see me quitting. Now I might do something stupid and you throw me out. Okay.
We all, we're going, and not even to that serious, Jason, we're all going to make mistakes. We're going to say something wrong. We're Southerners. That means we've got an opinion and we have strong opinions. We have to learn what to take from that, when to take it serious, when to say, okay, just let the guy cool off and we'll move forward. We have good people in this organization. Every organization has its bad apples along the way, and you have to police that and you have to watch that. But long as we keep the focus on what we're here for, what the charge was given to us in 1906, what we're here for, what our purpose is, then we'll continue to grow. We'll continue to prosper. Do we gain 10,000 members in the next 5 years? I don't know. You look at other organizations, where they're at, where they're going, but we've got to be wise with what we have now, what we have to work with, and make sure for future generations that this will still exist, even when me and you are gone and all three of us are gone, that we're leaving something behind, just like the UDC ladies put up these monuments 100 to 125 years ago. They left a lasting memorial. I think we've got to do more than that. Videos are here. This is important. We're telling that history. It'll remain around. Look at YouTube. Let's use that for example. Their videos, they're 15 years old. I look at some of the things I first did on YouTube and I'm thinking, man, that was embarrassing. How did I do that? But it's still out there. And these things, we need to consider those. And I'm glad that we're doing something like this. It's important to use the skills we have. My background, by the way, you guys know this, is in broadcasting. Full-time, I'm a library director, but have spent 20 years in radio broadcasting. So when you see the microphones, cameras, and all that kind of cool stuff, that's right up my alley, technology. And I saw Carl's comment there. Yeah, a little bit of experience. I'm not the best that ever came along, but I'm looking forward to doing like a talk style podcast. It's a little different for me. I'm used to doing a music type station and interviews, but this is exciting opportunity to do what we do in Tennessee and promote that. And this is something we really want to get the Tennessee division in time really on board with, and bring in some of our other camps and camp members as guests. And so let's kind of segue into that, guys, a little bit about what the purpose of this program is. Yeah, we can chit chat with each other all night. Me and Jason the last couple of weeks have probably talked, 4 days straight if you combine it all together.
Yes, we actually talked one night for 4 hours. And
I think we hit almost 5. I think it was almost 5.
Almost 5. And then last night, I think we talked 2 hours.
Time flies. Do we accomplish something? I think we do. The problem is, I guess, I'm 43 now, and Jason, you're a little bit older than me, so you may speak to this a little better, not picking too much here. But if you don't write this stuff down now, you start to forget it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do these things, take notes. It's important, like what we're doing. We hope someone learns something. It helps with that as we bring in other guests. As you can see, we have some rough notes we're going to kind of go off of. I'm not one to script everything I say. That's not how I operate. But I do like to have some notes of some things I'm going to touch on. I think that's very important there. I see Chuck there up in Middle Tennessee. The more time you dedicate to, the more you get out of it. That's true. The organization will be better for you if you put more into it. You just depend on other people. That's what you're going to get out of it. That's what you make of it.
I wouldn't know Chuck if it wasn't for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I've got to know Chuck Roydhouse through his activities with the Hatton Camp and him coming to General Headquarters and helping there. Chuck's been a huge asset. But I wouldn't know him if it wasn't for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Almost all of my friends are SCV members.
Yeah. And that's something, we talk about, we have members in camp members, people we know. Same thing you just said, Jason. The men that we work with, and even the ladies too in other organizations, they become my closest friends. Those are the people I talk to when I need prayer, when I've got something going on or a concern. I know I can call on these folks. And I'm going to use an example. And Jason, I've said this before. When my dad passed away 3.5 years ago, we had the funeral, the visitation, and lo and behold, walks through the back door is Jason Boshers and Joey Nolan. That probably meant more to me than anyone else was there, because they're not relatives, but they become like brothers, and they made 4-hour and 3-hour trips to be there. And that says a lot. That's what we do, and that's what we've got to do. Can we always travel across the country to see each other? Maybe not. Let's support one another. I mean, we are family.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm.
I spend more time with you than I do my own brothers.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, we've got a great organization, guys. Let's talk a little bit about here. We're going to have a break coming up in just a moment, Harrison. We'll take a quick break, and I'll come back and talk some division information. But Jason, you've been busy the last day or so putting together different social media outlets. Are you at a place now where you're ready to mention some of those where folks can go and start to learn more about us and what we're doing?
Yes, sir. And thank you, Commander, for bringing that up. There's a lot of things that go on in the background to actually have this show happen. I've created, I went on Facebook because we're broadcasting this on Facebook and on YouTube. We're using StreamYard as our base platform, and we're broadcasting to YouTube. When we set up the YouTube, we have to, it has to be at least 24 hours before you're able to start broadcasting.
Sure.
On it.
Yeah.
So that didn't come to fruition before we started this.
You have a certain number of subscribers you have to have. That's just part of the rule, but we'll get that part there.
And we will. And then the same with Facebook. I created a Facebook group. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then when we went to use the group, nope, you can't use the group. Okay, so I needed to create a Facebook page, and I started creating a Facebook page, and then we tried to link that in, and that's when it come back and said, well, you have to be active this long, and you have to have this many subscribers. So right now we're putting all the ducks in the pond. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. Right now you're looking at this show, and we're running it off the platform that SCV Chat is doing, and I want to thank SCV Chat. I want to thank Harrison and Connor for them being willing to let us dabble into this and see if this is something that we are actually going to be spending money to do, because this is not cheap. You know, when I started finding out exactly how much it cost 5 years ago for us to get started, it was really okay. And then that's just getting the subscriptions and all of that in. That's not the hardware for the microphones or the cameras. And you can tell I'm going to need a new camera. You know, it's not looking good to me on here. So, you know, that's going to be more equipment. I'm going to have to get another microphone. And this just, you know, so all of this takes time and it takes money. When we started with the SCV chat, it was very rudimentary. Yeah. And it has taken 5 years for it to develop into this. And so we're going to get started on this, but you're going to see me put some out there for SCV chat. Tennessee Tuesday, a page and the group and YouTube. And I'm going to ask you to please go to those and subscribe, because the more people that we can get subscribed, the quicker we can be to use those.
Absolutely.
So you know, so you're going to see that coming out over the next few days. That's probably something I'll work on tomorrow and Thursday. So and then try to get that updated. I'm already going to have to play around with some of the graphics, but I'm going to have to create some. And I want to thank Connor. I think Connor created that intro that you saw there. Yeah, nice. Now we have another intro that is being done. And do you want to talk about that, John? The new intro?
Yeah, we can, and then we'll take a break after this and take our first break here. Do want to mention a few folks that, if you see me looking off a little bit, that are trying to watch us, and I've tried to share it, and Harrison may be doing this on some different pages as well, trying to find it. Again, we thank all those that are viewing and chatting with us tonight. But again, the different outlets that you can watch us, we're working on, and working on that intro too. Mr. Mike Dunn is working with us there to produce us an intro with some music that he's going to provide. We're working on the details of that. And Mike may be watching with us tonight. I've got an older version of that he played at Elm Springs, hoping we can use that. Marlon Rood played there with him as well. And I've got some video clips that I've recorded here recently, so we may be putting it together, a whole new intro. But again, what Harrison and Connor have done is fantastic. As we get going, you see the logo in the background here. That's something kind of put together one night. We've got the 3 stars of the Tennessee flag. And you may say, what are the arrows going back? Why are they going? We're not going backwards. We should be going forwards. Well, we're looking back in time. We're talking about history. So that's important to see those arrows that are looking back. And, of course, obviously the rest makes pretty good sense. We're on Tuesday and we're talking about Tennessee and beyond. We'll reach outside of Tennessee as well. Well, gentlemen, you want to go ahead and take our first break? We'll come back and we'll talk some more SCV news in Tennessee and some other information on that Tennessee Tuesday on SCV Chat.
My dad told me he always had a kinship to the battle flag. Always growing up, he knew there was something there, but he couldn't put it together. I called my 97-year-old grandmother. And I asked her, do we have any soldiers in the family? I gave her 3 descriptions. Verde, which means green, for modern-day soldier. Blue, azul, or gris, means gray. And she said, mijo, which means my son in Spanish, is gris. It was gray. My great-great-grandfather was named Andres Torres Rodriguez. He was born in Mexico. He was a laborer. And he was an 8th Texas Infantry. And this unit later on got incorporated to the Texas 33rd Cavalry under Santos Benavides, who was the highest Mexican-American Confederate officer. He was a colonel. There was over 13,000 Hispanic soldiers throughout the Confederate States, but out of those 13,000 were 2,500 Tejanos. And it's 2 words combined. Texas in Spanish is Tejas. Mexican in Spanish, Mexicano. You combine both words, Tejano. They contributed a lot for Southern independence. I think that they deserve respect, honor, and dignity under the Confederate flag that they fought for. There was people of color, Mexican people, and other Hispanics, and other people of color that fought in this war. Everyone's reason was different, but primarily they fought in this war for their independence and to protect their homeland. I joined the SCV because I'm extremely proud of my Confederate heritage. I have Confederate DNA. I just want to ensure that the present generation and future generations know and never forget the contributions of Hispanics in the War of Northern Aggression. I am Richard Luna Garcia, the great-great-grandson of Private Andres Torres Rodriguez, a Tejano Confederate soldier.
I do want to say real quick, I don't know why our commercial break didn't load correctly. It was a bit blurry. I've done it like that hundreds of times, so I'll have to double check why it came in like that, but it will be fixed in the next episode. Let's just hope the other videos loaded correctly.
All is good. All is good. Again, Harrison Dawes, of course, producing for us in his studio, and we appreciate that. You're listening to Tennessee Tuesday on SCV Chat. Again, Harrison, thank you to you and Connor for setting up for us tonight and allowing us to be a part of your network as we get started, and hopefully we'll provide you some good content here on a Tuesday night. Kind of want to jump into a little bit of and put on the hat of Tennessee Division Commander and talk about a couple of things in the Tennessee Division you may or may not be aware of. Now, at National Reunion, when we were in Texas, Scott Hall got up and gave a little bit on some reports of some of the battles the SCV had faced and lawsuits we'd gone through. One of those he didn't really touch on was a big one in Tennessee, which is something that's gone on for several years in Franklin and in Williamson County. And it's not just the SCV to get credit for its work behind the scenes and our members that worked on this, but it's just Tennessee citizens at large wanted this to happen. Several years ago, the county commission there in Williamson County in Franklin, where they meet, decided that the Confederate seal there, or the seal of the county which had the Confederate battle flag on it, needed to be removed. They were very politically correct at the time, and they tried to accomplish that. Of course, legal battles ensued, held that off for a long period of time. A judgment was given, as you guys know, that it should be removed. Well, through more appeals there, we slowed this process down and our lawsuit against them. But in the meantime, the state legislature was working on adding some things to our Heritage Protection Act, which protects our monuments and our military memorials in the state of Tennessee. And one of those things that was included was county seals and municipality seals that will protect them if they have such things as the Confederate battle flag for in this situation. Which made the county commission come back to their regular meeting and vote unanimous to leave it alone, that they're not pursuing it. So a victory in Tennessee, and a huge victory. That seal that dates back to the 1960s. Of course, you're in the centennial of the war, that flag being added there in the 1960s. And it really showed the history of what happened in Franklin. And that's one of the things we fight for in the SCV and as members individually and taxpayers and citizens, that we see these things preserved. That's why if your state does not have a Heritage Protection Act, I encourage you to work on that. You can reach out to us here in Tennessee and many other states as well that have some great ones too, that have saved their monuments or at least slowed down. Again, it's not going to stop someone from filing a petition to try to move these. But again, it's important to get this here. It slows the process down that, like that county was going to do. They were just going to bust up that seal and change it. And spent millions and millions of dollars to try to do this. But in the end, we were victorious there. So that is a huge win for our Confederate ancestors and for history in general, that sets a precedence that this is not going to happen, that Tennesseans are not going to stand for this. And obviously the county commission saw that, and through work in the background with different commissioners coming in, they are not pursuing that now. So a big victory in Tennessee. Also, another project in the division we're working on is the Forest Hall project. And I'm going to touch on this. And then here in just a moment, Jason's going to jump in a few minutes and we'll talk a little more detail about what this project is. Well, if you've seen your Confederate Veteran magazine, you've seen over the past several years, Forest Hall. It's an event center that will be at the Nathan Bedford Forrest Boyhood Home in Chapel Hill, few years ago, we got the concrete foundation poured. Now, the process now we're involved in, and at our Tennessee Division reunion this year, that the division is funding through donors that have given to this cause, we're going to build this pavilion, and eventually it's going to be enclosed. So this is a project people from across the Confederation have given thousands of dollars to, and it's really going to open up the opportunities, guys, at the Nathan Bedford Forrest Boyhood Home. If you've been there, and those that are watching with us tonight and listening, if you haven't been to that site, you need to take a visit to visit the restored Boyhood Home, and the property is immaculate. Many historic properties I go to just do not look as good as the Nathan Bedford Forrest Boyhood Home does. I know we're bragging on our own stuff, but it is well taken care of. Mr. Gene Andrews and many others that have worked for years to make sure this property is what it is. But this is going to open up opportunities for meetings such as weddings to take place there. You now have a place to meet, to have those rehearsals, to have a dinner, that everything is not outside and you're not always having to bring in a tent. For example, we have the annual reunion there that happens in June each year, and the homecoming, we have to set up a tent, which we may still need tents if it continues to grow, but this is going to allow a place to have things inside. We don't have to worry about weather as much. So this is a big project the division has worked on for several years. And again, we're moving along with that and getting pretty close to approving some bids, hopefully very soon. But we'll come back in just a moment, and I want Jason to join in, and we'll talk a little bit more detail about that and folks that may be interested in still helping with that project. Another thing, guys, we've got coming up in Harrison, I think you've got this from our Tennessee Division website. We have the division reunion that's coming up. It's going to be in Morristown in 2026. Of course, the Tennessee Division reunions always take place in April each year. And this one coming up in Morristown is going to be April the 17th and 18th of 2026. Commander Mike Beck, past Tennessee Division commander in the camp there, the Bradford Rose Camp, has done a fantastic job of taking on a division reunion. And something, guys, I was talking to Mike recently, and I was like, how did you do this for such an affordable price? And this is what's very important. He has partnered with the local Chamber of Commerce and other organizations to get this price down, as they're donating to our cause. How many Chamber of Commerce do you hear donating to the Sons of Confederate Veterans? Because tourism is important. Tennessee's second to first place thing is tourism. And the Civil War, war between the states, whatever we call it tonight, is very important in Tennessee. And they've seen that in Morristown. So we're going to have that registration there is $65 per attendee. They've got several different things, your regular events you see at a division reunion, such as your socials, your lunches, your business meeting. That's going to include your reunion pin, a goodie bag as well. And then there's going to be an afternoon bus tour, which will be at the Longstreet Museum. You'll be going to that. Their organization there, the SCV partners with them to promote the Longstreet Museum, a historic house museum there just outside of Morristown in Russellville. So make sure you make plans to join us at our reunion. If you want to come from Tennessee, we want you there. I hope you're going to be there if you're a Tennessee member. And if you've never been to a reunion, guys, we see the reunions. You have, let's say you've got 2,500 members in a division. You may see 150 members attend. We want to see that increase because it's a time you learn about the organization, what it does, and people say, how do we make things happen even more and more and grow these things? It's by people attending this where these ideas start and bloom in to something big. Forest Hall, as an example, we'll talk more about, really kind of started at a division reunion. Conversation was had, hey, we need more space. So attend your division reunions. They're all across the Confederation. And again, ours is coming up in April in Morristown. Again, you can go to our website, TennesseeSCV.org. There is a tab at the top of the 2026 division reunion, and to make your plans to be there with us in April. Going to be a good time to go to East Tennessee. And if you're outside our division, of course, you can register as well. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to vote in the business session, but you could attend many of the activities as part of that reunion if you're an SCV member. Also something, Jason, and you're going to get to jump in on this one because you've been past commander-in-chief now. You've sat in the big seat, and you've had to be involved with these on the organization side. We are looking to host the national reunion in 2029 in Tennessee. We talked about it in Texas. Harrison's dad, Forrest, we sat down and had a conversation. They're going to do one the year before us in 2028. And so we've taken 2029. We're going to discuss that. Of course, it has to be officially voted on at the National Reunion and by the committee, but we're working to be in Franklin, as we just talked about the big event there. Of course, things in Franklin, the Battle of Franklin in November of 64. Also, you've got such sites as the Carter House, Carnton, the Confederate Cemetery, Chip, the Confederate Monument on the square, just sites you may recognize. But we're going to set up tours outside of that Winstead Hill that's SCV owned. That'll be a tour stop. We're working, since you're not too far away from Columbia and our National Confederate Museum, that's going to be one of the big tours, and looking forward to sending even a bus tour, or maybe even if you drive on your own during that week as well. And then we've got the Forest Wood Home, Jason, that's not too far away. So we're working on these tours. Of course, you're just outside of Nashville. There is Confederate history everywhere you look. So we want you to come in 2029 as we work on this and organizing. We'll have a website just like everyone else where you can pay online and get your registration done. So, Jason, you want to kind of jump in here with us a little bit and talk about, you've been a part of many reunions over the years, and you've sat in the big seat. So you know what a big deal this is to come to Tennessee.
And well, it is a very huge deal. And if anybody who came to the reunion in Franklin, it's in the Cool Springs area. It is on the east side of I-65, and in the Cool Springs area. It's going to be at the same hotel. That's what we're going to work on, is we still have to get all of those details worked out. But It's the same hotel that we did in 2018. And the Tennessee Division is going to have an executive council meeting coming up on September 20th. And this will be talked about in a great deal, because you start prepping now, and you're thinking, hey, this is 4 years out. Well,
yeah,
we've got a lot of things we're going to have to get prepared. We're going to have a website. People are going to have to be able to pay online. We're going to have to be able to take payments in other platforms. We're going to need to work with the reunion committee.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Ringhofer and those, they're great people. They're the ones that are excellent at putting these on. They know everything that we need to be doing. So, they're the ones that's going to come up. They're going to review the site. They're going to make sure we've got all of our pieces in place. So there's a lot of things we're going to have to do. You can't wait till the year before to start to plan this. You're going to have to start planning it a long way out.
Absolutely. And it's a big investment, Jason, for whether it's a camp doing it or whether it's a division or brigade, whosoever it may be. It's a big investment up front. Now, most everyone is going to get their funds back through the tickets and the registration, and hopefully monies can be made to come back into the organization to do other projects, which is our goal as well. You want to promote the organization, have its national reunion, but it also helps the Tennessee Division as well to host one. But you got to do this right. I've done a couple of division reunions. I know you've done one. You've seen national. You've been to them. You've helped with them. It's a big deal to put on, but it's rewarding. How many people can say in their time in the organization they got to help promote a national reunion? That's a big honor in itself, because you're making sure the business continues to happen, and we further it along another year.
And there's people talk, well, why do you put it on? You have all this work that you have to do.
Yeah.
It's for the organization. So when you realize that it is not about you, as we were talking, how we had our interest in history, because it is not about us, it is about them. And because it is about them, it is about the organization. So you remove self and you put them in. And that's the reason why that you do it. Why do you do this? Well, you're going to make the personal sacrifice to do it because it matters to you. And then the organization benefits. The people benefit, because to me, they're like family reunions.
Absolutely.
There's some people, I can't wait to go to Kentucky, because that'll be the next time I see them, is in Kentucky.
That's true.
And then I won't see them again until 27, and I won't see them again until 28, because that's the only time that we do see each other. So it's people I get to sit down, talk to, visit with, and you realize that's what our ancestors did. We're doing what they do.
Type of reunions they had in the UCB days. That was there once a year, or maybe once every 10 years for some of these guys to see each other again.
Yes.
So it's important that we continue a tradition that we are carrying along that goes from the days of the Confederate veterans themselves.
Agreed. Agreed. So we're just pushing that out. And yes, the Tennessee division we will be discussing this at our September 20th Division Executive Council meeting. And then we'll be proceeding on with the I believe the Division Executive Council will agree to do it, and then we'll be proceeding on, but we have to have their blessing, as you know.
Absolutely.
Yes, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And this is the right way to do it. So,
and if you know me and you, Jason, like this, we probably overthink things. Someone asked me at the national reunion in Houston, they said, "Why are you talking about things 4 years out?"
Yeah.
I said, "I want it right." Well, you don't have to plan it that far. I want it good. I want the people that are in attendance to enjoy themselves, that when the event happens, it goes off without a hitch. We don't have issues, big issues. And I want to applaud Commander Hurley in Texas for the fantastic job he did on that event. And I know he had help, but it was a lot of him and his wife putting that together. And what a fantastic job. What a great Christian gentleman to work with. Mighty good singer, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
But I appreciate Commander Hurley and the work that he's done to help continue to promote. And of course, they've worked hard in Lexington as we come up. And I believe the next year is at Mobile. Is that right?
Yes.
We're going to Mobile?
Yes. We're going to be in Lexington.
We'll be in Mobile.
Yes. Lexington 26, Mobile 27, somewhere in Mississippi the 28. Mm-hmm. Have y'all picked out a place yet? Or y'all that's an eyebrow thing. So I don't know what that was. But
well, I can't feel some of my face because I try to look serious as a child, so my eyebrows don't work right. But Mississippi is still looking at some really great places to host. We have a list that we will be talking about probably at our next DEC meeting and bringing it before our DEC. But hopefully we'll have some news before y'all's season finale.
Yeah. And I know, of course, Harrison, I'm sure your dad, Forrest Dawes, is working you hard as he's the current Mississippi Division commander. So you don't have a choice but to work this.
I didn't even get a objection on getting to be on the committee. I was like, because my camp is hosting the 2028 Division reunion. Okay. So I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to be on the national committee. Shoot, I really am missing out. All that work and all that headache. I'm just, I'm heartbroken. And then Connor comes up to me. He's like, hey, could you make a list of places? And I was like, huh? He's like, here's the places we've already thought of. Of course, I can't say, but, he was like, could you think of anything else? And I was like, why are you asking me? He's like, you're the vice chair. I said, no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out him and my father, the evil men they are, decided that I was going to serve on this committee while also chairing the division reunion a month before the national reunion. And that's been happening a lot since my father became division commander. I've just been told, hey, here's a project. Okay, well, good luck, guys.
Yep. That's how it works.
I didn't even know I was the chairman of a couple committees till my DEC meeting.
If you're not at something, people sign you up to do stuff.
Oh, the bad thing is I live with him, and he still didn't tell me.
Just not listening, Harrison. You're just not listening.
No, I guess not.
So we've got a comment there from Sean. Can a member in good standing in another division come to your division reunion? You can in Tennessee. Jason, I'm not going to speak for every other division if there's any differences in those, but in Tennessee, obviously you couldn't vote on matters in Tennessee, but you could come to it. Absolutely.
Oh, yes. And traveling as when I was going and visiting, I was running for positions.
Yeah.
Yes. You're welcome. You stay completely out of business.
Yeah, don't be standing up saying anything.
You stay completely out. You don't have an opinion. Mm-hmm. You let the division handle the business that they need to handle. And and that's actually a wonderful thing to do because you don't have to worry about voting.
Make it easy. Just sit back and watch.
Yes. And Sean McFall, thank you for asking that because that is a good question. And I visited a lot of division reunions and just stay out of their business. let them conduct their business.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about a little more business, Jason. We mentioned a little bit about Forest Hall, and I want us to talk a little more detail. As you're as division adjutant, you're handling a lot of these funds as they have now come in. Past adjutants Martin Frost and Tom Wood were originally part of this to get-go, but as you've come in as division adjutant over the past 2 years, year and a half or so, you've started to see these funds come in, and we're getting really close to picking a bid here, and we'd like it to happen in September the 20th, but they may not be in to pick that at this point and decide to get this going. Again, the GEC approved several years ago for this project to happen. The Tennessee division is, so to speak, paying for it, but again, the donations are coming from our membership and beyond Tennessee as well. So, Jason, talk a little bit about, if you would, as you're collecting donations coming in, about how they can send in those, and still, if someone wants to be a donor towards the Forest Hall project at the Nathan Bedford Forest Boyhood Home.
And thank you for allowing me to say a few words about it, Commander. I will say that donations have come in very well over this. Anything having to do with Forest, Nathan Bedford Forest always generates a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that want to see this. You know, this started out as a welcome center. It's been called a hall. It's been called a pavilion. It's been called several different things from its original concept. And it was originally talked about all the way back. I'm very familiar with it when Tom Strain was commander-in-chief. That was actually a serious conversation then. And the General Executive Council did give the Tennessee division permission to build this. And no money's coming from SCV National on this.
That's
on
true.
This build. All of this build is coming from monies from the Tennessee division, and it's money that Tennessee division has raised and money that people have donated. And it is done strictly for this. And right now we are in the bidding process, as we already have the concrete pad poured. There's going to be, I'm going to kind of call it a kind of like an open air pavilion in the back that we will eventually be enclosed. And then there's going to be an enclosed welcome center. Right now we're in the process of getting the bids for that. I'm just going to segue into that of having to, because this is different than the Forest Equestrian Plaza that is on the grounds of Elm Springs. Okay, we're two different forest projects going on here in Tennessee. We have the equestrian statue. I'm going to call it a resurrection. Okay. I know that yes, I did kind of get talked to about it because I called it a reconstruction. And we agreed to call it a rebuild. When I first started talking about it, I called it a resurrection because we were resurrecting the plaza. So that is going on at our general headquarters at Elm Springs National Confederate Museum. Now the Forest Hall that we're talking about, that is going to be on the grounds of the Nathan Bedford Forest Home in Chapel Hill, Tennessee. That property is owned by the National Sons of Confederate Veterans. Yes. It is not owned by the Tennessee Division. It is owned by the National Sons of Confederate Veterans. That's the reason why we had to get permission to be able to build this.
Absolutely.
And we're funding all of the build. You've been seeing it for a number of years, as John told you. At this past Tennessee Division reunion in Humboldt, and John, you did a great job. John hosted the Tennessee Division reunion in Humboldt in 25, and I hosted it in Columbia, or my camp did. Sam Watkins' camp did in Columbia in 24. You did a great job. But we made some very big strides there as far as getting monies allocated to this. And it was decided to go ahead and proceed and get the bids. Now, once we get the bids, that doesn't mean that we're going to start, because it depends on what these bids come in as.
I mean, they have to be reviewed, have to be looked over, how are we comparing? Did they all bid on the same thing? These will be reviewed, and then they'll come eventually to a vote.
Yes. There's going to be a finance committee that's going to need to go through. There's going to be a build committee that it's going to need to go through and be reviewed, then it's going to come to the Division Executive Council.
Absolutely.
On what they decide, because this has to be looked at all phases and make sure that we're doing the right thing here the right way, the right thing the right way.
And Jason, to give people an idea of the cost of this, we already over 200,000 we have raised towards this.
Yes.
So that kind of gives you an idea of the cost, and probably even going to exceed that to fully complete this project. But again, I'm glad you said it. SCV National is not paying for this. It's not coming out of national organization. It's the Tennessee Division, its members, and others that have donated through the division that are paying for this project. And we will not go into any debt on this. We're not, until the money's there, we're not getting loans, nothing like that. We're going to have it cash paid in full.
Yes. And that was one of the things that the General Executive Council made it very clear. They were very clear. There will not be any debt on this build.
Absolutely.
Period.
Well, Jason,
we're not going to do it.
We're coming up close to an hour. We're just a little bit past 8 o'clock Central Time. Let's do this. Let's take one final break here, Harrison, if we can. We'll come back, and I want us to mention once again the Forest Plaza. I've had a few questions, Jason. You're heading up that committee, and we'll talk for a couple of minutes about that, where we stand on that, and we'll wrap up and talk a little bit about SCV Chat and where you can learn more about Tennessee Tuesdays, and we'll be right back on Tennessee Tuesdays on SCV Chat.
Thank you, Commander. This commercial break is sponsored by, of course, scvchat.com. If you want to learn more about SCV Chat, watch episodes live, including this one, and a lot more information, please check out scvchat.com. And, of course, this is also sponsored by our Patreon. For just $10 a month, you can help us reclaim the narrative 1 week. My mic has been muted the whole time, hasn't it?
No, you're good.
No, you've been talking.
Okay. I was just making sure. Let me. All right. Well, good. I had the red light and I didn't notice it until I got halfway through my spiel. But the Patreon for just $10 a month, you can help us reclaim the narrative, help us run some ads, help us get some more equipment, help expand into new shows like this one, and of course so many other things. There's multiple levels for $2 a month. If you just want to throw some general support, you can feed a moose. Again, the $10 a month, you get your name at the end of every episode produced by SCV Chat. And, of course, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, including an exclusive show. And for $30 a month, you get some merchandise. And, of course, for $80 a month, you become a full-fledged sponsor of the show, like Dr. Chris Cummins, MD. If you are in the Oxford region and you just couldn't eat enough apples and you got to go to the doctor, please go check out Dr. Chris Cummins. They specialize in knee pain, something that I deal with on a constant basis, especially after Saturday.
I know that too. I'm dealing with it.
So if you are in the upper Mississippi area, please go check out Dr. Chris Cummins, MD. He will treat you well and give you some Southern hospitality. We want to thank everybody for making the show possible. And as the Commander said, we'll be right back.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost. Stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
All right. Well, we're back here on Tennessee Tuesday on the SCV Chat Network. Again, we thank Moose and Harrison Dawes officially. We may call him Moose. We may call him both throughout the time. Jason Boshers is my co-host tonight. I'm John Blankenship. We'll be with you for just a few more minutes as we wrap up our first show. Again, we hope you've enjoyed the program tonight. Hope you've learned something, you enjoyed it, and we'll begin to build on this more too, Jason. Some of the things we've got in the works are not just us talking every Tuesday. We'll begin to bring in guests. We'll have some history conversation. We'll bring in authors, special speakers. Again, this is a podcast style, so we kind of want to have conversation and not just someone speaking to you. And then also, as we get closer to next year's national reunion, Jason, it's going to be an election year. We've got things in the works to bring the candidates on and have a set of questions for them and give them a time to talk to the audience and what their platform is. A lot of good men that are seeking these offices, and we'll be doing more of that as we get closer to that time. Lots of good things in the work. Again, we thank you for listening with us and watching us tonight. Again, Jason, there's one last thing I kind of want to touch on before we wrap up tonight is we get a lot of questions, and it's been in the works for several years, is the Forest Plaza at Elm Springs and the National Confederate Museum in Columbia. A few years ago, General Forrest and his wife are reinterred there, moved from Memphis. It's an expensive project to put that nice plaza, if you remember it, at Forest Park in Memphis, how extensive that was. And it's going to cost money to put this back together and time. And you've been leading that committee to rebuild this.
Okay, I can give an update. We have already started to work on the equestrian statue. We had to go through the, like we do with all of our projects, we get multiple bids. We had 3 bids, and we evaluated them. The Forest Last Ride Committee, that's what we're calling putting the Equestrian Plaza back up. The Forest Last Ride Committee, been there on site, did this throughout all of it, and we got the bids. Made a recommendation. General Executive Council voted on it at the pre-reunion meeting, and it was made the announcement of who we were going with. And for $22,400, they're going to put that piece on that tail that got broke off.
Okay.
And they're going with light bronze. One of the things we found out through this whole discovery process was this was very high quality bronze. When they would put something to it to test it, like a weld or something like that, if it's an impure metal, it sparks and turns reds and oranges. This was a very light white. And he said it was extremely high quality. He said the brass was so good that, or the bronze was so good that if a tornado was to come through and you could get all the pieces, you could use those same pieces to reform it.
Oh, wow.
That's how good quality it is. So that was the next question. What would it take to do this? And they said it would take $300,000 in bronze alone to be able to make it nowadays. So, you know, this is an enormous structure that we're going to be putting back. But I jumped ahead of myself. Let me talk about getting to that. So we have to fix the tail. It was an old break on the tail. It wasn't anything that had been vandalized or anything that had been happened in the last year.
It's old.
Yes. Well, it had been out over 100 years. It had seen some weather. Then, as you know, the saber was stolen. He carried an 1840s cavalry saber throughout the war. That was what was put on. So that's what we're putting back on. We're putting light bronze on. So it is going to be a very high quality. We're going to be patching up the spot that is on his head. We have a few places that we're going to have to touch up as far as maybe some seams and stuff that have come in, because you have the back of the saddle going to the tail. There's a hole in there that has got to be filled.
Sure.
Then there's one of the hooves, the right rear, that we're going to have to do some work on it as well. But when they did this evaluation, they made a whole list of it. We're going to be fixing every bit of that, and that's going to get waxed. Okay. And then with the Jeff Davis statue that came from Memphis as well, they're going to, because neither one of the statues have been very well taken care of. So while they were in Memphis, so we're going to clean them. Now we're leaving the patina. Okay. Don't think we're stripping it down to bare metal. We're just giving it a cleaning so we can, get the bad stuff off of it so we can put a wax on it. And then we're going to wax both of them. Then we're going to be doing 3D imaging of both. And for that, $22,400. And we have already brought them in, and they have already done the 3D imaging of the tail. Okay. So, it's kind of like if you break a tooth and they have to put a crown on, that gap that they have, they go in there with that and they figure out what to make.
Absolutely.
So with the piece that he had tore off, he went in to see what it needed to look like. And then took an 1840s cavalry saber, the old wrist breaker, laid it out there. It's an original one from the war, did a 3D image of that. So we're going to have it put back exactly the way it was. The plaza itself, 50 feet wide, 75 feet deep, to the top of Nathan Bedford Forrest head, he's going to be nearly 21 feet in the air.
Wow.
Now, yes, he's going to be a long way up. Okay. When we started the work on all of this, we also had an architect come on site because first thing we needed to confirm was, did we have all the pieces? If you have been to Elm Springs since everything came from Memphis, you would notice that we had it sitting off beside the parking lot. Yeah. And we had to confirm that we had all of those pieces. Yes. And the architect said, yes, we have all the pieces. We have everything on site that we need to put it back together. He said, but the one thing that we need to do is, because taking a look at it, looking at the slope of the land and where it's going to be, we need to bring somebody in and we need to measure it out. And that's what we did just a couple of weeks ago.
And this is for the foundation side of it, because this is a heavy structure.
Yes. Well, yes, it is, because we can't put anything up with the front end loader. Everything's going to have to be done via crane. Yeah. So, because the pieces are too big, so it's got to be grabbed and moved. So you're looking at something that size. So they come in to do this survey, and he surveyed from the walkway that goes up to Elm Springs. He surveyed from there to the Robert E. Lee statue, out to the middle of the field. If you were at the reinterment, where the artillery was sitting? Yeah. He measured that far. And then if you were also at the reinterment, that when you were, as you come up the front of the house, that right before that ditch is, where the road is, he surveyed all of that distance, because we have to get all of the water running off from that. Absolutely. So, and he goes, okay, we need to, because we don't want to move a lot of dirt. We're probably going to be a little bit of a mixture of all of it. But we needed to get a survey of it. The survey's been done. We're waiting on the survey. And we started working with the structural engineer, because we're going to be doing this as a concrete pour, different than what they did originally, because when they started taking it apart, they found out they'd put a lot of it, the underneath structure, with brick. We're not going to do. It's going to be one continuous concrete pour. So that means it is going to be a big, heavy structure. And we've already started talking about the French drain system, already working with the structural engineer. We do have all the pieces. I have already seen the drawings of how it's going to go, but how much, we were waiting on the survey to determine how much we're going to have to do on that whole site. Yes.
Well, Jason, let's talk about funding for this. I know you talked about this at the National Reunion, and you guys have talked about it on SCV Chat as well. Where are we at on funding? Are we fully paid for at this point, or what do we still need?
Well, of course, we're not going to have any problem covering the repair work on the equestrian statue. because we have already had $180,000 that's already came in to put that up. So we've got 180 there. Then we've got we had a very generous donation come in December of last year that removed the banknote from us. Absolutely. And one of the things we were going to do was use the 21st Century Confederate heroes to pay down the banknote. Now they've decided to take the 21st Century Confederate heroes and put that money toward this, and we've got nearly $300,000 because we've had nearly 300 people that have signed up for 21st Century Confederate heroes. So, there's some cost that was involved because we're going to have to do the book, the medals and the things like that. So, the neck ribbons, I should say. So we're, so it's not going to be that complete amount, but you're looking at 180 plus, let's say, 280. Okay?
A very expensive project. And again, it shows the commitment of the SCV. And gentlemen, something we can't forget, who we're putting this up for.
Yes.
In my opinion, and these are our opinions again, one of the greatest generals, if not of the Confederate Army, especially in West Tennessee. He is a living legend. There's not anywhere you can go in West Tennessee someone doesn't know who Nathan Bedford Forrest is, whether they connect him with the wrong thing and don't have true history there of the Klan era, or people know who that name is. You're in West Tennessee with his raids in December of 62. He was here in Trenton, Tennessee, which is just north of me. He was the hero. The young ladies are dropping baskets of food as he comes into town down to him. He's a living legend. We must honor his memory. The SCV has done a good job, and its members. We're going to get this project completed, Jason, and it's going to be something we'll be proud of. It'll be there long after we're gone.
Yes. Once we get the architectural drawings in, that's going to have everything we're going to need to do structurally for everything. Once we get that, then we're going to go get at least 3 bids. At least 3. I've already talked to 5 different contractors that have showed some interest in. So we're probably going to have 5, 6, 7 bids to choose from here, which is a great choice.
Absolutely.
Some of the original estimates are saying between 200 and 250. And it's just going to be because of crane work.
Yeah, it's expensive. It is what it is.
Yes, it's just really going to come down to that. And it's a huge structure.
Jason, do you have any kind of, as we wrap up here, do you have any kind of target date that you would like to see it completed that you think is doable spring of next year, or are we looking further out than that?
Well, I've been asked this question more so than anything. Yeah. Okay. It's possible if we can hurry up and get on their schedules, because the thing that we ran into when we were getting, because I was asked to do this and I was told to start getting the bids in March. It was June before I had all 3 bids. It took 3 months to get bids from everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
So it just takes that long to do it. Even if we had, it right now and we had it and we get on somebody's schedule, let's say that we vote first of October 4th. First Saturday in October is a GEC meeting. And let's say that we could vote on that. And let's say the person that we picked, what if they can't start on it to January, February, March? Sure.
Yeah, it's going to take some time to re-erect it.
Yes.
And just work itself.
Yes. Well, they tell us it's about 8 weeks worth of work. That is what the structural engineer and the architect have said. It's about 8 weeks worth of work.
So a more realistic time could even be next fall to really see work begin.
Because
you get bids in, you get things approved.
Yes.
But good progress is being made, Jason. Again, thank you for your work on this and others, too, that have helped you to make this possible.
And there's a very good committee that's put together. It's myself, Ed Phillips, who was the attorney for the Forrest family, Lee Miller, who was so critical with everything going on in 215 over there, which is the camp in Memphis. They're in the middle of the fight. Plus, we have 2 great-great-grandsons of Nathan Bedford Forrest on the committee.
Yeah.
So to me, having that, And when you talk to them, it kind of makes it feel different because that's their great grandfather.
That's true.
You know, we know how we feel about him. You know, and,
it's even different for them. It's
not only is he the legend that you talk about, that everybody knows about him, he's their great grandfather. And to look at them and talk to them on a Zoom meeting, or when we were reinterring them and we were digging the graves, you know, and I'm sitting there and standing there talking to them, you know, and just how humbling is that to do. And people have asked, when are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? I would love to go ahead and have you a date, and I'd love for it to go ahead and be done, so you wouldn't have to ask me anymore.
You just need bids. You're waiting on bids at this point, and then it's time for the GEC to hopefully be able to vote.
Yes. Now I know once we start getting bids in, the GEC is going to want to handle it real quick.
Absolutely.
And I understand that. It's not like if you get it to them, they're going to wait 3 months before they bid on it. No, before they vote on it. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to evaluate it and then go after it. But, you know, it's just takes, like I said, just to get people there to give us the bids took 3 months. And one of them, once he come and visited, it was right at 6 weeks before we got a bid from him. Even though we'd had a phone conversation with him and he wanted it, no, you've got to put this in writing. We need to be.
It's a slow process. I'm going through a library project, an $860,000 edition. Takes time. It just to get people to bid. People are not just jumping through the door to bid either, and then when they are, they're slow about it at times.
Yes, and if it was left up to me and the rest of the committee and the General Executive Council, it would have already been done.
But you're mercy of other people. You doing what you can do, making good decisions, and we want to do it right, and that's most important.
And that's the thing that the Forest Last Ride Committee has looked at the most. We have got to make sure we do this right, because there were some people that were just wanting us to come in, pour a concrete pad, put the base on it, and the equestrian statue on top of it.
Yeah,
that's not doing this right.
Yeah, we want to honor him properly. And again, Jason, thank you for your work on this. I know Harrison's probably I know he's a college kid. He's probably got to go to school tomorrow. You go to school tomorrow?
No. I probably and that could be an episode all in itself. Could talk about my college journey. No. I do have work tomorrow though.
Oh. Well, guys, I have an early day. I'm up at 4 tomorrow to do a radio show. But as we wrap up, a couple of things we want to mention. I see Joe Ringhofer shared their Fort McDermott. They've got the
Raphael
the dedication there of that monument that they've had redone and was cast. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yes. Yeah, they actually got a new one made. Yes.
So that's coming up on September the 27th. Again, if you do some work on social media, you'll find the details. I know it's out there about that. And gentlemen, as we wrap up, of course, we'll be back next week with Tennessee Tuesday here on SCV Chat Network. Again, thanks to Harrison Dawes tonight for making this possible for us to do this from Tennessee. And we do want to promo other programs, Harrison, that you've got coming up for the rest of this week and even into next week.
All right. Well, of course, next Monday, SCV Chat will be back. We took off this Labor Day. Can't wait to dive into it. There'll be more information, of course, on that episode after Thursday. Speaking of Thursday, it is Commander's Comments. So if you want an update from your National Commander-in-Chief, Donnie Kennedy, make sure to tune in this Thursday at 7 p.m. Confederate Standard Time. And, of course, on Wednesdays, we have Look Around Florida with the Florida man, Sean McFall, same time. He gives an update on the Florida division. And, of course, Sundays we have Hardy on History, where you get Mr. Michael C. Hardy's legendary take, a famous historian, a great man. Definitely go support his show. And, of course, Friday Night Live in the Friends of or in the group of Friends of Douglas Southall Freeman group. And of course, anything else? The shows are growing. The network is growing. I'm so happy. It's been a great day. But I guess until then, that's all we got.
Yes, sir, gentlemen. Thank y'all so much. We'll be back. We'll be back next week. Jason, I see you raising your hand. That means you must not be done.
I got one thing I want to talk about, and that is we're talking about Tennessee Division business here. Get your Tennessee Division dues in. This is what came in today. Now, if your national dues, they should have already been at General Headquarters, because you had until midnight of August 31st to get them postmarked for them to count. So these are the dues that have come in. Get your Tennessee Division dues in, and go ahead and start doing your 990s, because I've got to do the 990 for the Tennessee Division. I have already started compiling the numbers for it.
Yeah.
Go every camp throughout the Confederation, not just the Tennessee Division. You have to do a 990, period. You have to do one. So camps in the Tennessee Division, if you have not been doing your 990, contact me.
Absolutely. It's not, if you do it each year, it's a pretty simple process. For most camps, small, under 50,000 in revenue, it's really easy to do. It takes me about 5 minutes to do it.
Yes, and if it hasn't been done, please contact me. Please.
Takes a little work there to get that done, but make sure we're protecting not only our individual camps, but our national organization as well. And we need to do good accounting. Again, Jason, thank you for your work. Harrison, thank you tonight for producing and directing back at your studio. It's been an honor to be here on SCV Chat, and we look forward to being back with you guys next week. We'll see you next Tuesday. God bless y'all.